So Fran, for many people that are watching here today, the whole notion of the James Stephens Army Barracks would have been very much at the forefront of their mind as being very intrinsically involved in the tapestry of Kilkenny. For you, even more so, because it is absolutely the place you can call your birthplace and home.
Well, I still love it. Let's talk about the barracks. I wouldn't know that anything else only the barracks. We grew up in the flats. There was 18 families, 20 families, 20 flats, 10 up, 10 down, and 4 toilets. We now have the cleanest bums in Europe, but that 5 families shared a toilet. That's how it was. But it was this huge family, and the army itself was a huge family. I spoke to someone recently who remembered my father, and they were talking about the arms trial, and they just remembered my father being everywhere, and we were getting ready to invade the north to help the refugees, some of them that came down. They were called refugees at the time, came down, and they stayed in the barracks inside. And that's not spoken about. I know you interviewed one earlier on there, an old Sherry was we might send him back, but the barracks was such a wonderful place. I grew up going in, standing on the wall, the little sentry box on the wall when you go down the Comer Road, still there with a stick, and you're pointing out, waiting for a car to pass, not a person, a car, waiting for it. It was just so great. If you were mitched in school, you mitched in the turf shed. It's now they went into a transport shed, but it was a turf shed. You went home covered in mould, letting on you were in school, but you weren't, you were just hiding in there. We played soccer in the old church with 2 jumpers on the ground. You played such a great place, and there's some great families. Some of them, you look at the minister, Malcolm Noonan was reared in the flats, and that's what they were. They weren't a great place to grow or to be, but it was one big family. You had the Quinns, the Garrys, the Brophies, Cartys, all these wonderful people. The greatest friend, I think, childhood friend, I'd always think of Tommy Maguire. Tommy passed, Jesus. I remember when he moved from there to Larchfield, I tried to find Larchfield, and I remember Edward crying on the way back. I couldn't find Larchfield on a Friday evening. I went over to try and find him. I was about 10, I'd say, when he moved out. I was 13, I think, 12, 13 when I moved out of the quarters, the flats. It's just so wonderful. I have so many wonderful memories of it, like fantastic place.
We're talking in this series, it's all about a kind of an insight into people's lives, but I suppose the core value that we're looking at is that sense of pride of place. And getting from you, Fran, early even in our conversation, there's a huge sense of pride of place. Tell me, for people maybe watching here that are not from Kilkenny or don't understand the values that you're trying to demonstrate, tell me what Kilkenny means to you.
Well, there's a core of everything in life. That you yourself, you have a core of how what works around you. I know for me in Kilkenny, I'm still a John's man, a Loughlin's man. I would pass, I was in St. John's yesterday evening, a Trinity Bob, and I light as many candles as I can for me. I get any value out of that now, because Frank Purcell put it up. But you can bring in a cup of tea in St. John's Church and it's grand, and I love there. My favourite place in Kilkenny to go into is St. John's Church, and then it's John's Green. Because I still see all the boys. I go over to what was McGuinness, the supermarket in Kniffs, and I'd sit there, I'd stand outside the post office just there, meet all the lads coming in that were around when we were growing up. And because we're in a society now that's judged on, still judged on money, and it's judged, success is based on what you have rather than who you are. You're known for your mortgage rather than your deeds of what you do. You get the sense of belonging, and what at the core of Kilkenny is there's so many ordinary families that are real Kilkenny people, and they're deadly, they're brilliant, and you'll have a laugh with them no matter when you meet them. As a matter of fact, this COVID thing, for the one thing we had on a regular basis, and it's sad, was funerals. There's not like a good funeral for a laugh.
Of course, yeah.
So you'd meet all the boys at Johnson's and that, and there's just so many families that are part of Kilkenny, and you'd enjoy meeting them. Great fun.
Take me back there, Fran, to St. John's Church. What does that offer you? What respite do you get in there?
We went to school. I met a priest, Father Brian, yes. Father Dan is coming back and Frank is gone. They're all names you'd have for years. But John's Church is good. We're in this thing now with meditation. You know this thing?
Yeah, mindfulness.
But sure, Ginny, the rosary was meditation. I say the rosary.
Yeah.
Not in order, and not maybe correctly a lot of time, but that's a form of meditation. So I go in there and sit down and just think of my mother and my father and my aunt, different people, and you'd light out a candle and you just no one minds you drink a cup of tea. But what do you get from John's? We grew up in John's parish, and there was a contradiction where we were in the flats and the barracks with a great big playground, like an army barracks is a playground,
Yeah.
But then you had St. John's School, which was a horrendous place. Absolutely rotten, and it's noted and documented for what happened in it. So there was this huge contradiction, but John's Church was always safe. So for me, there's this sanctuary of having, I would see John's as just this great place that was always there. You know, just a fantastic place.
Soccer was a huge part of your life.
Yeah, I'm still dead, yeah.
Yeah, you're handy enough to tell me.
I was kicking ball there over they were kicking ball for homelessness, and I'm going up and down to the Good Shepherd about 20 years. Before that refugee came in, Noel Sherry, but they asked me would I raise a few bob, so yeah, I kick football, and I think I got a lot of money, like. So I'm doing it at Christmas for the mayor now, the car park in Dean Street, and I'm kicking all ball for whatever length of time. But I was doing a viewing last Saturday, it was very funny, and there was a chair on the lawn. It was out on the side road at Chris's house, but there was a ball loose, and I said I'm going to put it in between the legs of the chair. You could do it 1,000 times and you wouldn't do it, but I just clipped that in between the legs of the chair. The woman was looking at me, is that an older Ronaldo, you know? Yeah, I like it. And it's not as nice as kicking the football. Hurling in Kilkenny is a massive thing. Daddy died up in Nolan Park, you know, and he was a fierce guy man, but never objected to me, you know, the soccer. I would love kicking the football. I'd love seeing young lads. I'd bring around balls in the car with me, and when passing, I'd throw a ball into a house instead. I'd see a few lads there and I'd give them a football. I'd throw my name on it, it's a form of advertising, and there you go.
Course, yeah.
But it gets them playing, you know. That now, and karate was my other sport that I loved and done it for a long, long time, you know.
I'm wondering about your career and getting this huge sense of you as a personable person. There's that lovely kind of warm, fun-loving, gregarious character filled with honesty and integrity, and I've only kind of just met you a short while ago.
Yeah.
I presume all of those characteristics are of no burden in a career like yours because you're in the world of, you know, property and auctioneer.
I would have grown up different, and like my parents, my father didn't read right at all. Mammy got through it. And I grew up in a house where it was a bob in the pocket that was given to you. So money wasn't, and it still isn't. I'd often go around, anyone knows a lot of the time I don't have that in my pocket. Like, if I had it, I'd share it. And I think we should dwell more now on how we can help. You're asking what's Kilkenny like. Kilkenny is some lovely people, lovely characters, lovely pubs, lovely restaurants. And I don't think anyone is in it, like, they're all in to make a living. But you don't set up business in Kilkenny to become a millionaire. You set up as a form of making a living and survival and that type. It's just a wonderful place that way. For me, I don't care, Edward. I just tip along. I don't try and hurt anybody, ever. If you're stuck, I'll help you. I'd be hard on myself because I would be a workaholic. Everybody knows that. Like, I work, my average day still would be 12 to 14 hours. I'm up at 7, finish at whatever time so that's just my life. Would I want my kids doing it? Probably not. Would Caroline, look, we're married 38 years, 3 lovely fellas. Could Caroline have an easier life? She could have if she married a teacher. You know? It could have been an awful lot happier than me.
But you're happy as a person.
That's her the finest. Anyone knows why 3 lads knows how lovely they are, and Caroline is grand. Like.
Yeah.
She's great, you know. But and it is a spin. We've been up and down. I've been well off and broke, and you know that kind of way. So, but I don't think you care whether I have money. And this is the thing with society now. We think we're being educated to feel success is on financial basis only. And it's not. Like, success is how you're perceived as a person and what you are to your kids and your wife. You can have all the money you want, but if you're not nice to your children, you're better off not alive. And the Pope said it years back when he said we're here to reproduce, and there was uproar in the community as how could someone say like that, like sex was about reproducing only. But if you can reproduce better than what you've left behind yourself, well then you're going well.
What's your number one unquestionable value? Something that would be a deal breaker?
Lies.
Can't
tolerate it. Stealing, can't tolerate it.
Okay, so dishonesty.
Yeah.
It's a deal breaker. And how do you, we've looked over the course of all of our interviews at the sense of community and the sense of belonging. How do you, as a kind of a parent, as the custodian of, young people's lives, whether that's their kind of their moral life, their kind of spiritual life, or whatever, how do you kind of take that role of being a parent and instill those values that are yours and that are true to you? How do you instill them in somebody else and get them to believe, Fran, in what you believe? Is that your demonstration?
You talk from when they're small, and I'd often say it to people. I started You know, everyone knows I started a chip shop when I was 21. Worked at that for years. We owned the Tinney Park House on route. Sold them, but I brought my kids everywhere I could, taught them. And when they were struggling at 16, 17, when drink is introduced, the secret to a young lad is to stay talking to him. The secret is to stay telling them how much you love them. And often it's hard to get them to say that. But there was an instant recently I had to talk to the lads about a personal thing, families and that. And Alan, one of my own lads, said, you know, we never had a bad day with you. That's the ultimate. You can have whatever dollars you want, but when your own young lad said, I never had a bad day with you, Jesus, that's as good as it gets, you know. That is, yeah, it really is. Like, yeah, that's where I am. How do you get young lads? We have this thing now, and you interviewed Nicky earlier on, or Nicky Brennan. I never met a lad who was so successful at GA, the highest post he reached, that was so grounded and basic about his thoughts on coaching and kids. We have an opportunity to touch children in a way now that we didn't have when we were small and you were going into corrupt places to be educated. But now we have a chance and opportunity because we have every facility and we use it then. We spend our time looking for the elite. So if a young lad can't kick a ball left and right at 10, Ashley's only average, or his family, if he doesn't come from a traditional hurling, sure, he couldn't be any good really. His granddad never held a hurl. You know, and you can pick the individuals in successful teams that never fell into that. But as a whole, we continually do it. And now there's a survey done recently to show that my train of thought is actually right, that it's affecting other children being classed as a B in a C team player. I mean, there's Shane is behind the camera here. Great family going back a long time. They're all theatre type of people. None of them kick the football. They might have been into an oval ball, ugly game rugby, but the point of the fact is that if he's a cameraman, so he wouldn't be as good as a lad who win an All-Ireland medal. Such a lot of rubbish. So we should dwell on kids as what they are, and I think we can improve. We have to really look at how we can help, and we're big into that, how you can help a small child understand that sport's about making friends. That's what we're talking about, sport. Yeah. And how we can make friends. And you meet lads, Willie Lannan in Thomastown got a knee replaced there, and one of the boys rang me, Willie's operation was bad. And I know Lannan, lazy York like. So I went down to him, and I had the 2 knees replaced. And I went down and thought, listen, rubbish, get on with it. But like, you make friends through sport, that you can go down, and the honesty is there through sport. And losing in sport is healthy. It makes, I never won anything in life, it was always second. Yeah. Could never get on a winning team, could never win anything, you know. But like, you know, we actually here in Kilkenny, we have the monument for success. And in fairness, you know, to Brian Cody in Kilkenny Hurling and Kilkenny GA, it's taking the place of the church but not that it wants that, but in assisting people to feel belong to a community, an organisation. So the church is, you know, it's gone as such, it's in trouble. But that's working. But we've got to use that healthier to actually know that it's not all about success. It's about young lads being decent people and bringing them forward as decent people. So when I said to you, if you look at society now, there's not enough decent people having children. The reproduction rate is down because people can't afford kids. That's it, Edward. So, but you have the other side of that. You have other people having children and they don't want them and they can't look after them and they're being taken off them. But that's not very PC, but that's the reality. And people don't want to hear that. But that's it. We should spend time making sure our kids start off well, understand what life's about, and their parents keep telling them they love them. Because there's no manual to give a person.
Absolutely.
You know?
And it's all grounded in love.
Yeah.
Fran, before I let you go, talk to me about Kilkenny for you now. You as this minute, if I was to say to you, well, what do you want to do for the evening? What do you want to do for the weekend?
I do the same things. I get drunk of a Saturday night. It's a murder really, but you know, we do the same.
Where would you say? Where's the hot spots?
Well, this COVID is after upsetting me shocking.
Yeah.
So
you were in the country.
Oh, Chile, we used to have a routine. You know, you go into Reedy's, you go down. You know, you go into Reedy's, you go somewhere else, and we'll end up. You might go into Sid's. I like it. You go into Tynan's, a bit busy. You might go over to the front room. You'll end up in the Marble where there's dancing going on. Hugh Pint would dance all night, 70s and 80s, great crack. Then down to Morrow for chips and abuse him. It was a real steady weekend, you know. It was great to highlight like. And I would listen to you cooking. You know that battered fish is the only way to eat it. Absolutely. Only in battered. So that was the weekend. It's a place where you can. Kilkenny's just, we don't recognise and maybe acknowledge enough what we have is so special. Stand on a bridge and look up at a castle. Think about it. It's just so many places you can go. And I'd give out about counsellors and that type of thing. But when you look at, what families in this family has done, Turles, from our side of town, they gave their life to Kilkenny. You have the Butlers, Tim is there now, tradition family as well, part of. You have all the lads who were here that made Kilkenny what it is. The civil servants or public servants that you don't see them.
Yeah. So
many of them are so positive people. And they're good fun in meeting out. You can take the PO and
you have a bit of crack as well.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, yeah.
Fran, we're sitting here in the Duchess Room of Kilkenny Castle. Before I let you go out the door, you have to tell me, because of course this is not your first time on the corridors of power of Kilkenny Castle.
I didn't. I left.
You made a few bob here.
I didn't do the leaving cert or anything like that. But I remember working for Mr. Kerr. At the time, Mr. Nolan was the head over Southeastern Tourism. So I was sent over here to make cocktail or make Irish coffees for 30 Yanks or whatever, 40 Yanks in the bus. And Mr. Nolan at the time and Mr. Kerr would stand over you, and your hand could be shaking. So the only way that you wouldn't flatten an Irish coffee was to lace it with sugar, and you could walk on it yourself. So they thought it was geniuses, but I wouldn't say anyone would be drinking it. Yeah, look, we were. I worked over here in the old kitchen over there, making that for the New Park Hotel where I trained. And Daddy was part of the army. Actually used this wing during the emergency.
The creams, that's right, so you're very much at home. Fran, listen, there we must leave it. Thank you for sharing the insights into Kenny. The thing that I'm going to leave with, that's for me, the kind of the core of you, is the words of your son that said, "You never had a bad day with you." And I think that's the desire for Edward. That's the thing for us all to reach for.
Well, I don't know whether it was true or not, but it's the ultimate thing to say.
It certainly is. Fran Grincell, thank you very much.
It's a delight to meet you, because I hadn't met you before. Thanks for that.
Likewise.